some reason it's not going live here. Why? I don't know. It's like there we go. Okay, now we're live. Ah, sorry. That's the problems of producing a live show and technology not working. You know, technology is great as long as it works. Well, now that we're starting 40, not 45, 15 minutes late, welcome to Pete's Tech Den, show number 27. Back on a roll again after taking a few weeks off there. Just 2 weeks in a row now. Keep the streak rolling. And I think tonight's show is gonna be pretty awesome. So let's try that intro one more time. This is Pete's Tech Den, show number 27. It's broadcast on September 18th, 2015. It's a show where we talk about ways to take old tech, particularly old computers, and give them new life by by repurposing them and doing other cool things with them, and then in just general talking about ways to do tech on the cheap. And then occasionally we dive in to the moral issues and that surround tech and using the use of technology, which is what we're doing tonight. I felt like this topic just fell into place for tonight because I was reading up on the latest technology news, just trying to just keep up to date with what's out there, and you know kept bumping into articles that just fit into this topic. In particular, a couple of them that kind of really hit me. One that I read earlier in the week, and then one that I actually just read tonight. I just saw it out tonight. We're going to kind of focus on that one. There'll be a third one that I'll probably post the link in the show notes, just because I haven't had time to read it all the way through. So, without further ado, we're just going to jump in and roll with it. Now that we got things working. So tonight, talking about technology and really, I don't know, it's kind of this topic, of not being, of not letting technology rule your life. Which I feel like it's really easy. I mean, it's just easy to do because technology is just everywhere. I mean, and it really can get you in. There's a bunch of ways. I mean, oh man, it's like just thinking about the ways that technology really consumes time in my life. Like, it's definitely the more I've thinking about this topic for this week, the more I'm like, well, I think after this, I'm going to spend the next week rethinking. I think some of the routines that I've fallen into. But I mean, just thinking of the ways, like just thinking of things, in my life, like reading the news, like technology news and stuff. Like, even just the news, consuming the news through. You're gonna most times in today's age, you're going to consume your news through technology, whether it be your smartphone, iPad, tablet, laptop, desktop. TV, I mean, yeah, it's good to kind of like keep up on, the latest, to keep aware of what's going on in the world. Um, Not only just kind of know what's going on, but I mean, because then you can learn from other people's mistakes. And also, tonight's topic came out of reading, reading news articles. Um, but I think it's you know how much do you let that consume? How much time do you spend on it? Things like that. Like things like how much do you watch TV? How much do you play video games? Um, for me, how much time do I, spend, uh, you know, working on computers? And especially, recently, I probably spent a little bit too much time watching TV. I would, you know, I mean, because it can be so easy to just you come home from work, you're tired. What's better, when you're tired than laying on the couch and relaxing and let the rest of your night just fly by and you don't get anything done. Or even something I was thinking about, right before, right as we're starting the show, like things like you know comparing like how much I spend reading, say, technology news as compared to like how much time do I spend reading my Bible. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know am I showing the Bible to be as important as I say it is? Are my actions lining up? And lately, I have to say no. That's one I failed. I need to get in the Word a lot more than I have. Um, but I kind of wanted to tonight. I was gonna dive into a couple articles, and talk about what they talked about. Um, First one, it's got a nice catchy title. Why are we outsourcing our humanity to the App Store? Um, and he kind of talked about like four things that like kind of changed the way we do things and experiences that we would have. Um, and now it's like, well, we got an app for that. That's like the catchy saying now is like, oh, well, we have an app for that. Kind of a thing. Um, but do we lose? There's times where maybe you lose some of that personal interaction because you're doing it all through technology. I mean, just thinking about things like how like Facebook or even something like instant messages have changed the way we communicate. Like, I don't know, I just find it silly when like when I was in college, you'd see people who they would instant message somebody who was like just down the hall. It's like, or instant messaging somebody who's in the other room, and it's like, why don't you just talk to the person, And you know, the guy in the article, I want to quote the guy because I want. Who's the art? Should have looked. Oh, not a guy, girl. Sorry, Dana. I think it's, I don't know, Dana Cully, with this article, um, but used kind of four examples. Uh, the first one he talked about is this. I kind of got the feeling it's a guy, but I don't. Whoever the author wrote, used. Well, one of them was this app that basically, it's kind of like it's called Skip. It's in Austria or Australia. I get the two mixed. Well, they're really close. I feel like it was Australia. Yeah, there it says Australians. Um, it's kind of like the idea of like the Taco Bell app here in America. Where you can put your order in through the app, and uh, and then when you get there, you can kind of skip the line and get your thing. Uh, in Australia, they have this one called Skip, and it's for not just one restaurant, but the same kind of idea, and you know, just kind of the, you know, kind of feeding our, frenzied pace that we live at, and I don't know. I have to say, I enjoy, you know, living at a slightly slower pace. Through doing, different things like one big thing. It's like driving a car. I just, for the most part, I do the best to, drive the speed limit and just kind of be, I'm gonna get there when I get there, and you know, trying to get there a little bit faster, whether it's, you know, is not worth, possibly getting in an accident or, uh, speeding tickets. And on top of that, God clearly lays out, you know, in, I'm pretty sure it's Romans 13, and then, um, you know, that, you know, we're to obey the governing authority, and that's one way we can do it. Like, they've set that law. You only go this fast. And they have a pretty good reason for it, You know, because that's how fast you can safely drive. Now, people like to push that. See, and sometimes they get away with it and they're fine, and other times, you end up with accidents, people getting rear-ended, you know, lovely speeding tickets, those kinds of things. Um, then, it's like things like that, or like, I found, because I live, like 2 blocks away from where I work, I found that I really enjoy, um, like, just walking to and from work. Now, it's really nice because it saves, gas, money, that kind of stuff. That's nice. But a lot of times, like, it's just kind of nice to kind of like when you're walking into work, kind of mentally preparing yourself for work, and then like after work, especially some of those like super just like frustrating days, you can just like you know let some of that stuff out, kind of cleanse, let all that out and kind of, yeah, okay, now I can let it go and I can kind of, you know, leave work at work. And um, now, granted, the days when you're running late and you're walking a little bit faster, it's not quite as relaxing. And this other thing is thinking, I was writing up the notes and thinking, about the skip with about restaurants and um, I've I, thought of my favorite restaurant, Chick-fil-A. Um, and I feel like they've got a good mix of the like not just of being fast, but on the other hand, giving that personal touch. Especially with Chick-fil-A, I think like you can go there once and the food's going to be awesome, the experience is going to be amazing. Like but I don't feel like you gain, at least for me, like I found you don't get everything out of the experience of Chick-fil-A until you go on a regular basis, which is what I do. And I guess it was something I always wanted to do, like was to be kind of like, the regular at a restaurant, to where they kind of like they knew what you ordered and they knew everybody knew who you were. Uh it was just something like, you know, you know, read about it uh in a book, you know, that we read it as a family as a kid and was like I don't know. Something about it was just like that sounds like really cool and like it is awesome because you develop relationships with the people you're going to food and like it's one thing after I'd been going there for the one I go to here in Omaha um for probably like a year and a half, couple of years. Like I was overheard the owner talking about kind of the philosophy behind Chick-fil-A, behind the way they do things, and it was kind of like I see it it like what he's saying. Like if I look back at my experience, I say my experience matches them. I mean, like like one thing he said was, they wanted they wanted it to be more like, kind of like coming over to a friend's house, kind of an idea, like to where, you know, they didn't refer to people who came as customers. They refer to them as guests. Um, and like I mean that was one big one because I remember I was like I told somebody I was like, you know, it's kind of like going over to a friend's house. Except, you're buying food, but like, I was like, I just remember going there, like when I was in college, and a lot of times I would sit down and I'd bring my laptop along to do, sometimes to work on homework, sometimes to just relax, and like, I mean, there'd be times, I'd be there working on homework, and one of the, the employees would stop by and, ask me, how's the paper going, or, you know, they always asking me about, how's the week going, interested in a very, personal way. Um, and at the same time, like, they can crank food out like crazy. I mean, there's times where you finish ordering and they're handing you your food. Like, and, they can still get it out pretty quick, in a few minutes. even when it's like super packed in there. And it's like, so I feel like kind of on the flip side, like they've captured that, being quick, but also they haven't lost like the personal. Um, and so I thought of it as kind of a, it was something I thought of when they started talking about Skip. The other one, which if you go read this article, it's kind of funny the way he. There we go, he again. I don't know. Uh, see, right, they wrote it in the first person. I should just look this up so that I can know one way or the other. Here, we'll let Facebook, I think. Well, I think now that I look at this, I think it's a she. Okay, it doesn't say. I don't know. Whatever. But no. Dana talks about how there's this. For $2.49 you can get this water balance app, and uh, to basically remind you to drink water. And Dana just basically like she just makes it. I don't know whether I'm doing this. I don't know. Dana basically just makes kind of fun of it. I just gotta read this. The app converts. No, personally, I like to keep a bottle of H2O on my desk and sip it at intervals throughout the day. Once it's empty, I'll get up and walk to the kitchen to fill it up. And there's a fail-safe built into the system in case I forget. Eventually, I get thirsty. And it's like, okay. But so it's like, you know, I I don't think that one's as big of a. Because, I mean, on one hand, yeah, you get thirsty and then you drink something. On the other hand, I know from like experience, especially from like camp. Camp. Kids, if you aren't reminding them to drink water and, constantly throughout the day, they're going to get dehydrated and get heat stroke. So, now does that mean an app on a smartphone is the best thing? I don't know about that either. I guess so. I guess there's because I mean I guess it comes back to the thing of like I mean it's the thing like there's been times where I've had to go without a cell phone for a while, and I've survived. And I know there's other people out there that probably wouldn't survive as much, considering like I guess for my cell phone I don't do. I mean most of the stuff I do is probably check emails. Yeah, basically. I do answer. I do get a few text messages, but I don't have a whole lot of people text me. I don't have a um, whole lot of people calling me. And then I don't do any of the like Twitter, Snapchat. I think there's Vines. I don't. I've lost track of how many different like just social media stuff's out there. Um, and I recently took Facebook off, so I have the Facebook Messenger, so that if somebody personally messaged me, I can still get that. But I don't know. I just felt like Facebook is such like it's such like a I don't know like a black hole. I guess it just sucks you in, and it's really hard to keep sucking you back in. And you know you may not spend all the time on there, but you end up keep going back to it so much that you don't get anything else really accomplished. Um, but yeah, and then another example she talked about was like this whole like it's a companion, this app called Companion, or she talked about like you know be safe, which I guess is like a personal safety alarm. The Companion like promises to walk you home safely at night. She calls this I guess I don't know whether it's this she Dana calls it the most depressing app I came across. And she doesn't like it because it's like the fact that we live in a world where this is necessary is truly disturbing. I don't know. I think that's, you know, I guess I don't know where she's going. I don't know where Dana's going with this, but uh, I mean the fact that you, you don't feel safe, well, that's just because of sin. I mean that that's gonna be there as long as the world exists. Um, but the other part, I guess, that could be kind of is that like you don't have any, but like like I'm going to use this app instead of, you know, calling somebody. You know, you know, that's something, my mom has done. Call somebody and talk to them on the phone, because then, they're there to, or just the fact that, having one to walk you home. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it's always like, I don't know, it comes back to kind of this whole, I mean, especially in America, this whole like individualistic, um, you know, society that where it's all about me, 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 and not caring as much for others as we should. Then I didn't talk. Um, the last one Dana talked about was this PayPal has come up with this app, PayPal.me. There's also another one that was done by Square, doing Cash.me, and it was basically an app to where you could send somebody an email saying, "Hey, you owe me this money. You owe me this money. Click this link and enter your information and pay me," kind of a thing. And it was just like on one hand, uh, you know, basically, if you don't have the guts to go ask for your money back in person, you don't exactly need it. uh, you know, on the other hand, if the person hasn't paid it back yet, the times when as Dana talked about, that 45% of the respondents said they hated asking to be repaid, and then 55% said it was awkward to raise the topic with family and friends. I forget where I was going with that. Completely. Like, I guess if you don't have the guts, then you don't really. And if they're not going to pay it, if. But I don't know. I guess what found it kind of interesting was the reason that they kind of, as I'm looking at it now, like the reason they, you know, decided to, you know, develop it for PayPal was that they did a survey and it revealed that a quarter, 25% of Australians have lost a relationship over a small debt. To me, it was like, I was thinking about it now and it just hit me as like, if you lost a relationship over a small debt, was that relationship worth having? For me, the answer is no. But so, kind of the overarching, it's just becoming too dependent, I guess, on your smartphone and, you know, on technology to not, like, I guess one thing, just remember with the whole lines was that, like, you know, dealing with that, helps you develop patience. And it's kind of like we're trying to take technology and kind of like smooth over all those like rough spots in life. And yet, like, I can personally attest to, like, a lot of times those rough spots are what have made you who you are today. And, for me, the rough spots, while not fun to go through at the time, help, you know, help me to be a better person because I've learned, you know, from my mistakes, you know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, uh, like, like last week, talking about money. Talk about a rough spot, getting in debt to my parents. But overall, it helped me learn a very valuable lesson about money and managing it properly. So that's now looking back at it, going in debt to my parents was worth it. I mean, because I learned my lesson. Um, the other article I wanted to jump in here, just well, I'm looking at the time. Let's see, where are we on? Oh man, I got away from that. Oh no, we still got plenty of time because we started late. I'm thinking we're almost, to the end, and nope, still chugging along. But the other article was this article I read tonight. Very interesting article with a well written title. Graph pulls you in family's shopping list for a year. Nothing. And but written by Mary Hance. So this time I know, yes, it is a girl. She um but basically the gist of it is this family who decided that for a year, beyond groceries and consumables and money for travel and what they called, things about experiencing things. They couldn't spend any money on clothes, gadgets, electronics, toys, books, home decor, etc. Um, which has kind of struck me, thinking about this, and this the approach, like, it wasn't just about what I guess what strikes me about this and thinking about this is the idea was that they, you know, it, it wasn't just about saving money. It was, uh, it's faith based decision. Um, 'Cause they had, I think it was like 2003. They had quit, husband and wife quit their jobs, their corporate jobs, and went for a year and year long mission to, I think it was, Guatemala. That's 2003. They did this in 2013. Um, but they, now had a couple of kids. and just felt like they'd gotten back into, just, you know, stuff and, being super busy and, just kind of gotten caught up and felt like they had kind of gotten away from their mission. I think is what they called it. Um, Lost my train of thought. And they kind of just wanted to, you know, I guess they say, live out their faith in 2013. And something I've mentioned several times on the show, like about like not just saving money for saving money's sake. Like they embodied this, because I think they said, yeah, they were able, they cut back on all this stuff, but at the same time, they were able to give twice as much to church and to charity as they had in previous years. Like, as a quote from the article, I mean, so it was like they're not just saving for saving's sake, but you know, investing, putting that money to good use, and it really wasn't so much about saving money for them, but you know, stripping stripping their kind of lives back to a little more basic style of life where you don't have all the things to worry about. And it's kind of interesting because just recently this new phone came out, which I'm pretty sure you guys all know what phone I'm talking about. Um, and for a lot of us, like not for a lot, some of us, it's all about getting the latest, greatest, and that's kind of like, say that's the opposite of where where kind of the theme of where I want kind of this show to go. Like it to be more about um, you know taking what we already have and reusing it. Uh, you know, really taking the maximum. Take pushing what we have to the maximum that we can use it. You know, through taking old computers and reusing it, or you know looking at like free stuff like we talked about, and ways in which maybe there's ways that we can give back to the free stuff that we use, to kind of, I guess, say thank you for what what the service they're providing for us, investing back in those kind of things, um, and then finding ways to save money, um, and one thing I talked about was just being able to kind of like rethink and think through, like, at the end, like, afterwards, thinking through, is this, something that we really, really need, or, you know, is this something we can kind of leave, leave behind, and, they talk about, like this, what they did, like, it didn't only affect them, like, and that's what that's one of the most, like, powerful things when we really begin to go and live our faith, like, because when we begin to live our faith, then, we're living, uh, you know, cross, uh, cross culturally, we're going against the grain, and when you do that, you stick out like, you stick out like a sore thumb, you're sticky, and then people ask you why. And it's like, it just like gives you the greatest opportunity when you're, it's like, boom, now you get to talk about why. And it's like, when those opportunities come, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. You got to know, you know, it's, wait, we need to know why we're doing things. Like, as believers, we have to know, I mean, we need to know why, because otherwise we're going to squander those opportunities. And, I talked about, like, they had, friends who began to, when they heard about what they were doing, you know, rethink their purchases. I mean, they didn't go to the same extreme, but they were still, you know, beginning to rethink and spend less. And, like, and so you begin to, have a ripple effect. And, there were things throughout their, year, like, like the dad had his briefcase break, so he ended up having to take this, like, they called it like a girly, bag with him to, you know, a work conference, and he's like, well, it turned out it became this, this thing where it's like they would ask him about it, and it would open up that opportunity to talk about what, he was doing, and what his family, what his family was doing, and, the experience that God was bringing him on. There was that. There was, anything, things like they would, when they had to take presents to people, they would, come up with, it, wasn't going out to buy. It was okay. Let's come up with what we can put together for, like, a present. Like, um, you know, one time they did like a 2 liter of Diet Coke and packages of Mentos with instructions on what to do with them, and, you give that to a kid, and they're gonna have a blast. you know, you know, as long, and the parents will be fine with it as long as it's outside. When the pop goes spraying, you know. Plus, I mean, I get to learn some science, and, those things, opportunities, and then, I mean, he was, they're writing a blog about it, sharing their experience. Because of that, they ended up getting, they got a book deal, and now, now hopefully, hopefully their story will impact some people and just kind of rethink like priorities. Um, I know it's already kind of like I hear these things, when you hear about people who kind of go out on a limb. I mean, and you know what some people would consider live a little bit. They call them they're radical Christians, and it's like I was like, you want to be there, you want to see, because for me it's like, well, you know, last year this time I was starting to work to pay down that last chunk of student loans, and a lot of what they talked about, you know, is the thinking about decisions, like I talked about that last week too. You know, rethinking, thinking about every money decision, um, is was definitely something I went through, and in some ways I feel like it could be good to to kind of do that again and kind of you know remind me of those lessons, because as humans it can be so easy to forget. I mean, there was a reason that God, when He was taking the Israelites uh, through the wilderness and into the into the promised land, He's having them put up markers and you know festivals and you know holidays and stuff to like, okay, you need to remember this, you need to remember this. You think even across the Jordan, eh, God had him take 12 stones out of the middle of Jordan and set them up in a pile, and God's like, in future generations, when your kids ask you what's up with this pile of rocks, like, it's like I'm giving you the opportunity to remember, to proclaim His greatness. And I mean, so we as humans are a forgetful people. Uh, but I guess we're gonna get ready to. I guess the last thing I want to talk about, I just wanted to kind of briefly go over. They had, I guess they had two rules. There's two rules. I don't know. There's a third one. It's kind of covered up. It's like we can buy stuff that can be used up within a year, including groceries, gas, hygiene products, no clothes. We can fix things that breaks. We can fix stuff that breaks, unless the repair cost is greater than the replacement cost. And then gifts must be in the form of a charitable donation or experience gift, with the idea of building connections and memories by doing things like going to dinner, the zoo, or traveling to visit friends and family. Uh, So pretty simple. And I mean, they by no means, cut down to the very bare necessities. I mean, it's still kind of, a little ways above, fairly above that, you know. But they cut back, and I mean, you just think of just, you know, probably for me, the biggest thing you'll cut back on is, electronics that I get. I feel, I'm trying to think if I, deals that I find on things. But, I mean, it's like, but yeah, I mean, so I definitely think it leaves us something. Hopefully, this leaves you something to think about. You know, I mean, it's really good to think through, money decisions and not just impulsively buy things. 'Cause it's never good. I mean, we talked about this when talking about trying to find a deal, not being willing to settle, but, always looking, setting that price to where you can go and, you know, not giving in. And a lot of times it's like right after you give in, there's a deal that you could have gotten, and you just weren't patient enough. But yeah, hopefully you found this episode interesting. Um, I definitely feel like I feel like as much as I kind of thought about it, this kind of was kind of struck me this week. It's usually like the week after I do the show that I do a lot more thinking, and then I usually come back with a few more thoughts, which is then why we end up doing, you know, like mixed bag of thoughts show. We bring in a bunch of thoughts about second thoughts on, thoughts after shows that add to the topic and things. So I'm sure this will be something that gets revisited down the road as I do a little more processing. So, till next week, think about your money decisions and whether those purchases are really necessary, and the impact. Think about the impact of those decisions.